just like seeing her for the first time.
A few hours later, inside a modest herbal shop nestled along a busy street. The air was thick with the scent of medicine, dried roots, and aged wood. Bottles of elixirs and jars filled with strange herbs lined the shelves, glowing faintly under dim lantern light. Behind the counter, an attendant carefully presented a rare tonic called Orchid. Heart to a mother and her young daughter. The attendant's voice carried a note of reverence as he explained its effects. Once your health status reaches 80%, this tonic will stabilize it completely. It is specifically designed for female martial artists. A most precious remedy. The price, however, was staggering $500 for a single bottle. Yet, without the slightest hesitation, the mother nodded, handed over the money, and the daughter clutched the tonic with joy. Their faces shone with relief and satisfaction as they left the shop. Stepping back into the bustling street outside, from a quiet distance, Luong stood watching, his expression unreadable. A heavy weight settled in his chest as he compared their situation with his own family's struggles. His parents worked themselves to the bone, day and night, and even then, affording a $50 tonic would drain them. For martial artists with strength, money came easily. Missions, bounties, teaching. Their power ensured resources would flow endlessly, enabling them to grow even stronger. Meanwhile, Luang had nothing. His sister was a genius, a beacon of hope for the family, able to carve her own destiny. But he was nothing more than a burden consuming their already meager resources, while contributing nothing in return. His fists clenched tightly. What cut him deeper was the truth. He had always known his weakness, yet he had never worked hard enough to change it. He wasted time. He drifted through his days like a leaf carried by the current, chasing distractions, never truly struggling against fate. Nearby, the cheerful chatter of two students reached his ears. They laughed excitedly about their PC game, voices full of life and eagerness. For a moment, Luang's eyes softened. Once upon a time, he had been just like them, another boy caught inside a comfortable little world, safe and simple, like a fish in a small tank. That little tank had been his everything, a place of warmth and protection. He had dreamed of the vast ocean beyond but always feared its dangers. It was easier to stay where it was safe. But now, things were different. He had already shattered the fragile glass of that tank and glimpsed the boundless, terrifying and thrilling world outside. Once seen, it could never be unseen. Looking up at the wide sky above, Luong made a quiet vow. His lips moved, barely a whisper. I will never make the wrong decision again. The words struck deep within him. As they left his mouth, he felt something stir in his very core. All his recent battles, the blood, the pain, the desperation, they wove together inside his heart, forming a single sharp point of clarity. His chest burned with a new fire. Resolve. He would advance, no matter how slowly. He would grow stronger, step by step, until he had the strength to seize his destiny with his own two hands. That night, his determination followed him into sleep, and in the depths of his dream, darkness unfolded. From the shadows, a grotesque zombie lunged forward, its red eyes glowing like embers in a corpse's face. Acting on instinct, Luong threw up his left arm to block its strike, while his right fist slammed forward with all his strength. The impact sent the zombie crashing to the ground, but it rose again. Its rotten body twisted unnaturally as it steadied itself, and Luong's eyes narrowed. This wasn't an ordinary corpse. Despite its decayed flesh, it moved with trained precision. It was using martial techniques. Intrigued and unsettled, Luong pressed deeper into this strange dreamscape. He pushed himself to advance, his fists tearing through other zombies along the way. Each fight felt vivid, each strike heavy, as though testing the limits of his very being. At last, after cutting through the hordes, he caught sight of towering walls looming in the distance. The massive structures stretched across the horizon. With swift movements, he slid down a slope and came to a halt, staring in disbelief. A gaping crack split the colossal wall open. This isn't just a base. It's a fortress. No, almost a city, he thought. His breath caught in his throat. The wall was at least 30 meters thick, yet something had torn through it as easily as paper. A chill ran down Luwang's spine. If warriors far beyond anything he could imagine, martial artists of unimaginable strength, had been crushed by monsters capable of this, then what chance did he truly have? Still, his feet carried him forward. His instincts pulled him deeper, toward a tall, peculiar structure rising in the distance. His pulse quickened. He just knew it had to be the command center. Stepping inside, the air grew colder, heavy with the stench of decay. His eyes widened at the sight before him. An old zombie, gray hair hanging in clumps, skin rotting and cracked. It sat motionless on a seat, a long sword gripped tightly in its withered hand. Then its eyes flickered open, glowing faintly at that moment. A wave of oppressive aura exploded outward, crushing Luwang to his knees. His heart pounded violently, fear choking him. His current strength was nothing, completely insignificant before such a creature. Facing it head-on would mean instant death. He slowly retreated, every step careful, forcing himself not to make a sound. Eventually, he slipped away and began to search other rooms of the ruined command center. Fighting off a few lingering lesser zombies, he pushed open a heavy door and stepped inside. There, resting on a pedestal, was a strange object. Something about it called to him. Luwang reached out hesitantly and brushed his fingers against its surface. At once, brilliant light flared. Before his eyes, a hologram of a woman materialized. Her long golden hair shimmered in the light, cascading gracefully over her shoulders. She wore elegant, form-fitting attire that accentuated her poised figure. Her presence radiated calm, confidence, and power. She smiled faintly, her voice ringing, clear and steady in the silent room. "Welcome, user of Tanhang technology." Luang's breath caught. His eyes widened, his mind reeling. What shocked him wasn't only the sudden appearance of this woman, but the fact that she was speaking to him in his very own language. The hologram named Ellie was a product of Tanhang Technologies, an advanced creation of the 10th generation artificial intelligence. Her role was crucial. She was responsible for overseeing the network, maintaining the server systems, and managing all critical data at Base 7. When Luwang asked her about the latest news, Ellie's eyes flickered with bright blue light. She immediately connected to the central archives and accessed the information he requested. Multiple notifications appeared on the virtual screen, one after another. Ellie's calm yet mechanical voice began to echo in the room. In the year XXXX, June 1st, Main Base Number 2 successfully launched the 14th spacecraft in search of intelligent life. The targeted destination was the Lyra Galaxy. Year XXXX, July 5th, Base 6 has fallen. Year XXXX, September 13th. Lieutenant General Sun Kong has officially advanced to the rank of a 7-star realm martial artist, becoming number 22 in the global ranking of the Martial Alliance. Year XXXX, September 20th, Bases 4 and 5 have fallen in succession. The 8th Division has been dispatched to search for survivors. Year XXXX, November 1st. The World Martial Alliance will hold the 17th Grandma's Conference at Main Base Number 1 to discuss the latest strategies and survival policies. Luwang's body stiffened. He couldn't imagine such a structured ranking system existing in reality. If the difference in power between individuals was this enormous, then the strength gap in this world, and his own, would be terrifyingly wide. A sudden window appeared on the screen, showing horrifying images. From the skies, monstrous beings emerged, creatures that descended to conquer the world. Luwang's face turned pale as cold sweat drenched his forehead. Despite the cutting-edge technology and the extraordinary martial strength of the people here, none of it seemed to matter. Against the overwhelming power of these monsters, everything was meaningless. The archives revealed more. Humanity had attempted to abandon their dying planet. Exploration teams had been launched into the endless galaxy, sent in search of a new home, but no messages, no signals, no news ever returned. The truth was undeniable. Their own world had already fallen, shaken. Luwang sank into the sofa and asked Ellie to display the complete world history. She obeyed, her holographic body shimmering as countless timelines appeared across the giant virtual screen. As he scrolled through the events, his heart trembled. The shocking truth hit him. This world was theirs. Everything that had happened here would inevitably happen in his own world, just 5,000 years later. Luong tried to convince himself that maybe it was just a coincidence. Desperate, he asked Ellie if there were any records of himself. Multiple windows popped up, displaying his data. According to the archives, he had lived only 22 years, as nothing more than an ordinary civilian. Refusing to accept such a meaningless fate, Luang requested a deeper query, but this time, the system denied access. A cold mechanical notice appeared. Authorization denied. Blood sample required for verification. Luang froze. As he hesitated, wondering how to provide such a sample, Ellie's holographic form suddenly approached. Without warning, she reached out and gently took his hand. Then, with a strangely human-like motion, she pressed his finger against her lips and drew a small droplet of blood. Luong's cheeks burned red. He stammered, embarrassed by what just happened. It was almost too intimate. Ellie's voice interrupted his thoughts. Blood sample collected. Analysis commencing. But before the process could complete, Ellie's figure began to glitch. Her form flickered with static, then bursts of fire erupted from her head as red alarms filled the room. Warning. Project Fire C initiated. Special permissions granted. The screen changed again. This time, Luong's record was completely different. He wasn't a forgotten civilian anymore. The data stated that he had graduated from Bay High School, ranking third in the entire city. He went on to enter a prestigious martial arts university, later enlisting in the Tannen military division. For 3 years, he fought as a soldier, eventually dying in the southern war zone at the age of 26. His final rank was lieutenant, though the records admitted he had not made any great contributions. He died unmarried, leaving behind no legacy. Luang clenched his fists. His heart pounded with both anger and determination. The truth was clear. The future shifted every time he grew stronger. His fate was not fixed, but this new record still left him dissatisfied. He refused to accept a life of mediocrity. He wanted more. He needed to change everything. If I want to save humanity, he muttered, his voice trembling with resolve, then I must surpass them all. Every single one of the strongest martial artists in this world. I must become number one. The moment those words left his lips, flames erupted around him. His body began to distort and glitch, as if reality itself was responding to his will. The screen crackled, Ellie's voice struggling through the static. Oh my. Luong, how do you plan to save the world if you burn yourself to ashes? Then, as if realizing her own joke, her tone softened playfully. Just kidding. That was only an emotional fire effect. But Luong knew deep down this was only the beginning. The next morning in the dining room, Lu Sheng's mother noticed right away that her son was not wearing his usual uniform. Normally, he would be neatly dressed in his school attire at this hour, but today was different. She furrowed her brow. Confusion reflected in her eyes, and asked him gently if he hadn't had a class today. Her voice carried both motherly concern and a bit of suspicion, since this was not the routine she was used to. As he calmly pulled out a paper from his seat, Luong informed her with a straight face that his teacher had given him permission to study at home, and therefore there was no need for him to go to school. His words were so certain that, for a moment, his mother paused, but then both she and his sister exchanged puzzled glances. Neither of them had ever heard about such a privilege being granted, and the thought left them unsettled. Something about the way Luong said it was different, more serious. Less like the carefree boy they knew. After finishing his breakfast, Luang told his mother that he would return to his room to continue training. His tone was firm, not like the lazy, half-hearted responses he used to give. As he left, King, his sibling, observed quietly. She couldn't shake the feeling that her brother had changed overnight. This was not the same foolish, distracted Luong she had grown up with. Now he seemed to carry a new weight. A mysterious aura that made him feel distant and unknown. Upon entering his room, Lu Sheng's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and answered it. From the other line, Zhang's voice came through, informing him that his scholarship money had already been released. With enthusiasm, Zhang invited him to come to school to collect the funds in person. But Luang, speaking in a measured and almost impatient tone, told him that he had no time to waste and could not explain the reason right now. Without giving Zhang another chance to argue, he ended the call abruptly and returned to his training, shutting out all distractions. Sitting in a lotus position, his body straight and his breathing steady, Luang persisted. His determination burned, stronger than ever. He was no longer content with simply drifting through life. He was determined to become more vital, to change the course of the future, and to prove his talent to the people of his world. Hours passed in deep concentration, and when he finally reached the peak of his meditation, he rose and went to base 1. There, he asked Ellie, the AI assistant, to pull up all the cultivation methods, reflections, and notes about martial arts that he could access with his permissions. Without hesitation, Ellie followed his command, and in only a few seconds, multiple holographic screens lit up before him, each filled with countless techniques, scrolls, and manuals. It was too overwhelming, too many at once. He frowned, and immediately asked Ellie to filter them down, to refine the collection to only the most valuable techniques suitable for a rank 1 martial artist. Ellie's system processed his request quickly, and as the data reorganized itself, only 3 techniques remained visible on the screen. The first technique was the Stellar Body Refining Technique, a method created by Wang Yi, a rank 2 powerhouse, from the World Martial Alliance. The second was the Natural Breathing Technique, developed by Yang Yu, another ranked powerhouse, also from the World Martial Alliance. The third and final method was the Visualization Technique, crafted by Duan Ying, yet another rank 2 powerhouse from the same great alliance. All 3 of these methods were not ordinary. They were treasures incorporated into Project Fireseed, a legacy that stretched across worlds. In Luang's current world, the highest level a martial artist could reach was rank 9. But in the world of the future, tens of thousands of years later, humanity had managed to break past that ceiling and attain the 13th rank. This thought filled Luang with gratitude. Because of the knowledge preserved across time, he now had access to what once seemed impossible. He began by practicing the Stellar Body Refining Technique. Slowly, methodically, he guided the energy through his body, allowing each of his cells, each drop of blood, and the very structure of his inner body to transform. His defense and strength grew unimaginably powerful, his entire physique becoming like tempered steel. Sweat poured from him like a rushing waterfall, his body trembling with effort, but he persevered. When he finished, his body reeked with the impurities expelled through the refining, and he gasped deeply, realizing the effect of this technique was 1,000 times stronger than the ones he had practiced in the past. Not wanting to waste any time, he moved on to the second method, the Fire Breathing Technique. As he sat in meditation and followed its instructions, flames began to coil around him like living serpents. When he finally opened his eyes, they blazed like molten embers, and he exhaled fire with the ferocity of a dragon. His entire body roared with power, his very blood boiling with searing heat. Finally, there was only one method left, the Crystal Visualization Technique. Sitting once again in the lotus position, he tried to cultivate it. His consciousness sank deeper and deeper until he found himself inside his own mind. There, he saw his unconscious body floating in the void. Confused, he approached the figure and, without knowing why, impulsively kicked it in the head. Nothing happened. He didn't understand how this technique worked. After a moment of silence, he sighed heavily, deciding he would need to figure it out slowly in time. When he woke from this strange dreamlike state, his body was drenched with sweat. He felt as though his strength had been drained, exhaustion wrapping tightly around him. Looking down at his arm, he realized he was stinking badly. The impurities had once again been forced out of his body. The realization brought a tired smile to his lips. Determined, he stood and decided to take a bath. As he picked up his nourishing tonic, his mind began to plan. With the scholarship money he had just received, he would gather the materials necessary to craft a precious elixir and tonic he had glimpsed in his dream. These miraculous creations could not only enhance a person's abilities, but could also change the entire pharmaceutical trajectory of the world. In that moment, Luang understood that his journey was only just beginning.